It is 7 p.m. on December 1st, 2021. I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Select Board for the Town of Hingham. First item on our agenda. Well, before I do that, I need to read our famous announcement here. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the Town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. Is there anyone who is recording this meeting other than the Town of Hingham? Seeing none, the first item on our agenda will be to go into the executive session. The board will meet in executive session under Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to conduct strategy with respect to collective bargaining for the Library Staff Association, SEIU Local 888, because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town. The board will reconvene in open session. So I will take a motion to go into executive session on those terms.
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
We do a roll call vote. Bill.
Aye.
Liz.
Aye.
And Joe. Aye. We are going into executive session. The select board is returning to open session, and I will again read our meeting announcement. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the Town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. Is there anyone recording other than the Town of Hingham? I see none. So I am going to return to the next item on our agenda, which is to consider the Memorandum of Agreement with the Library Staff Association, SEIU Local 888. And with us, we have David Pace and Courtney Orwig from the Personnel Board and Linda Harper, the Library Director. I would ask Mr. David Pace to just review for us what's being proposed.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. And as you mentioned, Courtney and I from the Personnel Board, we're kind of leading the bargaining with the Library Union this time around, along with Linda Harper, Director of the Library, and Art Roberts, the Assistant TA for Operations in town. And so we're happy to report that we were able to successfully conclude an agreement with the library. For that, I do want to at least both thank the library workers for their general work that they do for the town. We always like to mention how the library is a crown jewel in town, and I think it's in large part because of their efforts. And we have a lot of long-term employees there who are very dedicated to the town. And I think in particular, although he couldn't be here tonight, Peter Thornell, who is the head of the Library Union, and the other members of the union leadership team, just like to thank and acknowledge them for their efforts to try to work very cooperatively with the town to reach an agreement. They always come in very prepared, very thoughtful, very reasonable with trying to reach an agreement that works for both the union and the town. And we're very appreciative of how they approach the bargaining, and I think it usually results in a good agreement for everybody. So I'm thankful for that. And the bargaining certainly went smooth this time around. So I'll hit the highlights of the agreement, and I'll ask Courtney or Linda or Art to please chime in if I miss anything or I get something wrong. So it's a new agreement. It's for 3 years, commencing as of July 1st, 2021. 3 years is the pretty standard, typical length of one of these agreements. We focused on a few areas. We made some modifications or agreed to some modifications in the current collective bargaining agreement that would bring it into line with and be consistent with some of the changes we've made to the town's personnel bylaws over the last 3 years, which were made kind of in response to changes in the marketplace, if you will. The first was relatively easy to acknowledge and recite that Juneteenth would be an official holiday and a day off for the members of the union, as it is for town employees. The second was consistent with a change we made to the town bylaws. We agreed that any employee of the library who has been working for more than 20 years would get an additional week of vacation. So rather than 4, they now be entitled to 5 weeks of vacation once they've been here for 20 years. We also agreed to modify their sick leave policy, again, consistent with the town bylaw, that they could use up to 5 of their allotted sick days in order to take care of a family member who is sick. It was 3 prior to that, similar to the bylaw, which is also 5 days for that purpose. We then made some modifications to the longevity provisions in the contract. We didn't change the dollar amounts of longevity that the union would be entitled to, but we agreed to amend the provision to allow part-time employees to participate in longevity. The current agreement with the library required that all workers, people who work more than 15 hours a week, would be entitled to longevity payments. We agreed to eliminate the 15-hour requirement, so all part-time workers would be entitled to a longevity payment, and that payment will be prorated based on the number of hours they work per week versus the 35-hour regular work week at the library. There were only a handful of employees that were impacted by this, and it was thought to be to be equitable to them and their service, which has been for more than 20 years now. And they both work long shifts, I believe, on Saturdays. It was kind of thought to be the right thing to do for this particular union. And we did cap it, so it would have to be employees who were employed by the end of this year who are eligible for this. Future employees. It would not apply to future part-time employees. The biggest challenge, as with all of these collective bargaining agreements, is we look at whether we need to make what we call an equity adjustment in their base salary. As we've spoken to many times before at the select board, Hingham for years, probably since before I was born, which is far too long ago now, has used a 20-town comparison when evaluating employee wages. And so we look at the 20 towns and see where the wages for comparable positions in those towns fall. And we try to place our workers just above the median. And when we go into collective bargaining, often we would agree that if workers have fallen below the median, that there's an adjustment to bring them up above the median to that point where we think is the fair compensation for Hingham employees. So at the library, we needed to look at 8 to 10 different positions across the various 20 towns to see where they fall. A number of those positions fell below the median in the 20-town comparison. So we agreed to make an equity adjustment to those positions to bring them above the median. And the total amount of the adjustment for the roughly 30 workers within the library is about $89,000. So significant, but it is a commitment that we make as a town to make sure that the employees are placed above the median in the 20-town comparison. And then we've upheld for a long time. The last piece was a general wage increase. And as with other bargaining units, we agreed to a 3% general wage increase for the library workers effective as of July 1, 2021. So we go back to the beginning of this fiscal year where they'd be entitled to a 3% general wage increase. And so those are kind of the principal terms of the agreement. As I said, it was a relatively smooth and relatively uneventful bargaining, which is always nice. I don't know if Courtney, if you want to add anything, or if you guys have any questions for me.
Yes, Courtney?
I don't have anything to add. I think David, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Does anyone else from the library have anything that they would like to add before I call on my fellow select board members? No. Liz Klein, any comments or questions?
Well, thank you all, David and Courtney, and Lucy for all of the hard work on this, and certainly for all the library staff too, for everything they do every day to keep the library going. And certainly it sounds like this was a very collaborative process. So appreciate that. And it seems like a very fair agreement. And I've reviewed the package, so no further questions. Thank you.
Great. Bill Ramsey.
All of my questions were answered in the executive session. I want to thank all those involved with the process and thank everybody for what appears to be a very equitable outcome. So thank you.
Yes, I'll echo your words, Bill. And I think the Personnel Board has done incredible work, just making sure that the staff really is recognized for the contribution to the town. We really appreciate it. This was the first bargaining session that our Assistant Town Administrator, Art Robert, participated in, and we appreciate your work. Art, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
I just wanted to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to get involved in a labor negotiation. You know, there were some important issues that we had to work out and took some time, and certainly appreciated the energy and the commitment on everyone's part.
Great, thank you. So it's, again, I think the agreement reflects what's appropriate. One point that I do want to emphasize is that when we're talking about, let me just pull up the language here, bear with me. Concerning the longevity pay, it's clear that the intention was that there would be prorated longevity pay. And when it comes time to adopt this, the MOU, I will be making a motion to make sure that the language appropriately reflects that. Are there any members of the public who have comments or questions about this memorandum of agreement? I see no hands raised. Tom, am I missing anyone? I don't see it on my screen.
Nope, I don't see anyone. Linda Harper is here. She's on the, her Zoom wasn't working, but she's dialed in.
Okay. And I do see, and I also see Lucy Hancock here as well.
That's right. Yeah. Lucy.
So thank you again for this effort. And again, thanks to the folks who are making sure that the town remains literate. We do appreciate all your work, and I'm sure you're going to be passing around a test that we'll all have to take, all the select board members will have to be taking. So we will be in your hands. So with that, I am going to propose a motion. And my motion on this will be as follows. I move that we sign the memorandum of agreement with the Library Staff Association, SEIU Local 888, effective July 1, 2021 through June 20, 2024, provided that Section 7 of the memorandum of agreement, which modifies Section 22.1 of the union contract, is amended to read as follows, quote, part-time employees who are employed as of January 1, 2022 shall be eligible to receive prorated longevity pay, unquote.
Second.
Been moved and second, we do a roll call vote. Liz Klein,
Aye.
Bill Ramsey,
Aye.
and Joe Fisher, aye. We are approved, thank you. And I neglected to say at the beginning of this meeting that the members of the select board participating this evening are Liz Klein, Bill Ramsey, and myself, Joe Fisher. So with that, we move on to the next item on our agenda, which is to consider approval of the minutes dated November 16, 2021. I am prepared to move forward. Liz and Bill,
I'm ready.
I'll accept a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes dated November 16, 2021.
Second.
Roll call vote. Liz,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and Joe, aye. They're approved. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is to review the fiscal year 23 department budget requests. And I know Tom and Michelle and Art have been working on this feverishly. The first department we're going to look at is the assessors, and I believe we have Erin Walsh on the call. There you are.
Yes.
Hi,
Hello.
Erin.
Hi.
So please explain and present your budget request.
Okay. I am just going to,
Are you going to be screen sharing?
yes.
Great.
Heidi, am I screen sharing or are you?
I think Heidi is. Heidi, you're muted.
Okay, I'm going to be sharing the screen just a moment.
I can start by talking about what the assessor's office does. So we strive to provide the highest quality of services, including efficient and courteous service to the public. We work to provide financial stability by fairly and equitably determining all real and personal property at its full and fair market value as of January 1st of each year for the purpose of taxation. We maintain and administer all property tax data and mapping records, as well as administer car and boat excise tax, as well as personal and motor vehicle tax abatements, betterments, as well as statutory tax exemptions. We also implement our policy decisions and directions of the Board of Assessors.
Erin,
Erin,
could
can
you?
you see my screen?
We do not.
Oh, okay. All right.
You want me to try to share?
No,
Heidi.
hold on. 1 second.
Erin, while she's,
Can you,
oh,
do you see that now?
yes.
Yeah, here we go.
Yes.
So before we go into this, Erin, can you just comment on the impact on your budget request? Because I understand that fiscal year 23 is a recertification year.
Yes.
And what that means, how often that happens, and what impact, if any, it's had on the budget.
Absolutely. So this year is our recertification year, fiscal year 23, where we're required to demonstrate that we've maintained the integrity of our property data. We've analyzed the sales market and met various statistical requirements. The Department of Revenue requires this. It used to be every 3 years. It's now every 5 years. So we did ask for an additional amount in our revaluation services, which will be used to contract with a company that specializes in providing these services for both our real estate as well as our personal property accounts. So we have an estimated cost of about $71,000 from our current valuation company and a cost of about $25,000 from our personal property accounts. So every 5 years, this budget will see an increase to cover the cost of this revaluation. And then that amount will drop off the following year to similar to what last year's reval was, which is about $37,000.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Joe, Erin, do you mind if I just jump in for a sec, just to
Sure.
get a point on that? Joe, I just wanted to make sure that you and the board is aware that we are not identifying that additional increase this year as an additional request, because it's still providing the same service. It is still a level service. It's just the meeting the DOR requirements of the every 5 years doing a full reval. It's revaluation every year full reval every 5, and we're just, this increase is in keeping with the law. It's nothing new. It's not in and of itself, an additional request. So I just wanted to point that out.
Right, but as she explained, it will drop off. It will not be
That's right.
recurring each year. Great.
That's right. Exactly.
So please, Erin, if you could continue.
Sure. Heidi, we're on screen 3, which is our benchmarks. So this year, there were 8,790 real property accounts with an assessed value of more than $8 billion and 388 personal property accounts valued at over $122 million. The department also administers excise tax for close to 25,000 motor vehicles, as well as 1,444 boats. This year, in 2021, we received 37 abatement applications and processed 181 exemption applications. So the next slide will show some of our key initiatives for the past year, where we implemented our new senior means tested real estate exemption to assist the senior population in Hingham who fell below a certain income bracket. So we're going to continue to promote this program. We didn't have a huge amount this year, but we're hopeful that next year we'll have a lot more. We are advertising in the senior newsletter, in social media, as well as on Harbor Media. And the Senior Center is also promoting the exemption in their January to April marketing strategies. So we're hopeful that we'll get more participants this year. We also transitioned to a new RMV system and continue to use our in-house data quality inspector to enable us to have greater control and quality of the quality and frequency of inspections. So Kerry Coughlin, who's been a great asset to our office, has just recently established an inspection notification letter so we can be more transparent to our homeowners, letting them know when we're going to be in the area, which is something that a lot of people are looking for. They just want to sort of have a heads up when we're going to be there. So we're establishing a letter to be able to send out to them. So the next slide talks about our salaries. So in terms of our salaries, we the only increases were step increases, as well as this year we are a full staff. Last year, for 6 months of the year, we were short an assistant assessor, and for 2 months of the year, we were short a assessing technician. And then our major increase is in the expenses, which, as I explained before, is because of our fiscal 23 revaluation. And that is it. Do you have any questions?
We will. I will first turn this over to Liz Klein, if you have any questions.
I do have a question. Thank you, Erin, for putting that together. And I know we talked about previously that this was a reevaluation year. Could you just explain what that fee covers? Is it a consultant or technology or people actually doing the work?
Yes, so we use this, we're actually putting out an RFP as we speak to different services. So we use Vision, and they basically do a year review to certify our values. So it's an intensive review where they look at all of our data and make sure that everything is accurate, and that the DOR will actually certify us for this coming year. So there are a few different companies that are out there. There's PK, as well as Patriot and Vision. We've been with Vision since, I think, 2012. And so once we know, we have an estimate of about 71,000 that is typical of the last 5 years. Our last reval, it's about the same amount.
Okay. Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bill Ramsey.
I remember last year when we did your presentation, we saw a decrease in revenue with respect to motor vehicle. I think there were two areas that were kind of interesting. I think one was motor vehicle excise tax. Did you see that again this year, just out of curiosity?
No, I don't think we've seen any decrease in motor vehicle.
Okay. And I'm trying to think of what the other area was.
It was the meals tax is where we saw a decrease.
That was the other one was the meals tax.
Yes.
Okay. Meals tax. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate the overview.
You're welcome.
Aaron, so do we have, or do you have in the budget the costs of doing the outreach on making sure that the senior means tested real estate exemption is promoted, that people are aware? I'm looking at the line items and I'm not sure I see anything that would address that.
I don't think we have any additional costs for the outreach.
Okay.
We're really promoting within in terms of the senior center as well as through social media. I don't know that there's any additional funding necessary to reach the
Okay.
public.
Do you work at all with the Hingham Anchor on this?
Yes.
Great, okay. And is an aspect of your salary component, is there a longevity payment made to employees?
I think that our salaries does include one longevity for our assistant assessor, yes.
Okay, great. So we, as a town, absolutely depend on your department to make sure that we've got the revenue coming in. So I really appreciate your hard work here. Members of the public, do you have any comments or questions about the proposed budget? Tom Mayo, anything that you wanted to add?
No, thank you. I'm good. Erin is so relatively new in her role as the director of the assessing department. And I think she's just doing a fantastic job. She's learned under Rick Nowlin for a number of years. You know, she has an awesome team down there, a couple of new faces as well. And they're just hitting it out of the park. They're doing everything well. They reach out to the community well. They obviously have an elected board that they staff and manage. And I think that from everything I've heard, that's all going very well. So I'm just thrilled with the job that Erin is doing. And Erin, thank you for all that you do, and as well as your team.
Yes.
Thank you,
absolutely.
Tom.
Okay, I am prepared now to move on to our next budget request, which is the treasurer collector, and Jean Montgomery is here to present. I believe. There you are, Jean, but you're muted. Great.
Just give Heidi a chance. I hope she's gonna be able to shoot my presentation up there.
Could
While
you,
she's doing that,
can you
we-
speak up, please? Your volume is rather low for us listeners.
I do have a problem with that. Let me get closer to the. That any
That's what-
better?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Sure, I can read my papers. So we've been asked again to prepare a series of slides designed to present a snapshot of our department's mission, our essential functions, and to also this year they've asked us to prepare a level funded scenario in case that would be necessary to call that into.
Jean, you are fading. I'm having real difficulty hearing you.
It's my laptop. I'm sorry. Who's behind me? Maybe I can switch to a different computer. I'll give it another shot.
Oh, that's what you just said came out loud and clear. So keep going.
I'll try. All right. So the treasurer collector's office is somewhat unique in that it's actually two offices functioning as one. The treasury being responsible for, try to run through this rather quickly, being responsible for cash management, investment of trust funds as well as idle cash, issuance of debt, and as well as tax titles, placing tax liens on delinquent properties and foreclosures. The collector side is a little more obvious. We issue and collect all the tax bills that Erin just went over. The assessors does the preparing of the tax rolls, turns it over to us, and we take it from there, send out all the bills and collect on them. And we apply very consistent enforcement measures to make sure that we get that revenue in for our targets by year end. We also generate the municipal lien certificates that are required for property refinances and closings throughout the year for the attorneys that are taking care of that. Heidi, next slide, please. So slides 2 and 3 just give a little bit more detail of those. We'll just go quickly through them. Maybe some interesting points. So at the end of October, our cash balance in the Treasury was $155 million. In order to take care of that and meet our financial policy goals and guidelines, we have 60 bank accounts set up. And we take care of all the reconciliation with accounting and so forth every month. The treasurer is also responsible for the debt issuance. An interesting fact is that over $500 million of debt has been issued by the treasurer since 2007 for the town. That includes general obligation bonds, refunding bonds, short-term notes, and the associated requirements with the IRS and the Security Exchange Commission. The treasurer serves on several committees, which are listed there: scholarship, taxation aid, library board of trustees. And the treasurer is responsible for investment. The two main pools that we deal with investment-wise are your idle cash, which is basically the balance between what we collect every year and what we're spending every year for your budgets. And also trust funds, which are managed or invested under a different statute that allows us to be use the prudent investment rule, where we can be a little more aggressive with our investment policies there. Next slide, Heidi. So the collective side is basically all of your tax bills. We also collect sewer use charges, which are not taxes, but we can go to the sewer department, and we generate about 70,000 invoices a year. So we have the initial tax bills turned over to us by the assessors, and then the follow-up billing that we do for each of the tax bills. So we pursue all collection alternatives, and we try to reach a 97% or more by fiscal year end. And then the close of FY21, we were at 98.76 for our real estate. That's our biggest obvious revenue source, and we try to target that. We try to hit 99%. So 98.76 is considered very good considering the times that we're in. We maintain an online payment service module for all taxes, for sewer use. We actually have any way you want to pay is available. We have lockbox collection. We have the Dropbox out front. We have the online. We have tax services that send in payments for probably 40% of our tax pay. So any way you want to pay it, we have it available. We do reconciliations. We also record tax liens on delinquent parcels. We currently have 43 tax lien parcels. So those are parcels that are at a point where we had to secure the town's municipal lien on it, so that they're on their way to land court for the most part. And we have currently 14 active land court foreclosure cases pending. We do a big business issuing the municipal lien certificates. Just some points there. You can see how in red the municipal lien certificate revenue has increased over the last 3 years, right in line with the way the real estate market has been performing. So as we have more refinances and more sales due to the interest rate market, you're going to see more municipal lien certificates coming in, which generates more revenue for the town's general fund. Next slide. For our benchmarks and metrics, this is a 5-year history of our real estate and personal property tax collections. As I mentioned before, we try to hit 99%. The 2 COVID years, in 2020, we closed at 98.13. This year, we're closer to the 99% at 98.76%. And the good news is in both of those years, by the end of the first quarter of the subsequent year, so as of September 30th of 2021, we were up to the 99%. So we're covered just fine. Next slide. Key initiatives. We expect that sometime probably during the year to be working with the Ware River Water System to help them develop a process for placing liens for their delinquent water accounts onto the real estate tax bills. That's something that's.
I'm sorry, Jean, I couldn't hear you. Could you just say that again?
We expect to be dealing with the Ware River Sewer, the Ware River Water System.
Yep.
In developing a process for placing liens for delinquent water accounts onto the real estate tax bills. That is something that's been in the planning stages there. It's a little too premature to do it, but it will be something that we'll be doing in the future as they develop a delinquency base. And we'll be working with them on that when they're ready. We will be renewing a bond anticipation note, and we may be issuing a refunding bond for 2000, an older debt that we have out. On a more office, administration, we have 2 bank mergers going on. It's pretty much old news. They just happened in November, and those are moving along just fine. Next slide, please. So on staff and expenses. I'll try to summarize this slide to segue into the budget sheets that you have from the general ledger that are probably in your book in front of you. So for FY23, we have submitted a level services budget of $451,359, which is an increase of $27,128 over FY22. So you can see from this slide that the salaries are budgeted at $390,401. This is the bulk of the increase for our level services budget this year, as we are over the prior year by $25,990. And that increase is due solely, pretty much, I think it's solely, maybe a little step increases, primarily to the reclassification that was recently completed by the Personnel Board. It affected several of the positions in our office. The general expenses this year are there's a typo there. That expense figure should be $50,958, not $60,000. So you'll notice on your budget sheet that expenses are coming in at $50,958. This is up $1,138 from last year due to some escalation factors that we put in on the level services budget. And our major items are obviously due to the tax collection side of the office, which would be our postage and our printing budgets. And we keep our tax title at the $10,000 annual fee. And that is the end of the slide presentation, and a segue into any questions you might have on the budget sheets.
Yeah, Jean, let me just start. So the salaries, basically the department head salary is flat from last year to this year, but the clerical services is up about 10%. And are you saying that 10% increase in salaries is attributable to reclassification?
Yes. I think I may have had one person with a step increase, but it's primarily in the treasurer collector's office, our tax receipt clerks are all the same grade level, and they were increased. They had been considered to be below the median and were corrected during the reclassification. So that was the tax receipt clerk and the 2 part-time clerks and the revenue receipts administrator. The department head position did not change substantially
Right.
at all as a result of the reclassification.
So,
But all of the other
okay.
positions.
So the 10% increase does not reflect bringing on any additional personnel or increased hours. It's simply the reclassification.
Yes, correct.
Okay, got it. And that was my only question. Bill?
No, Gene, appreciate you coming in with a level service budget and all your work to do that. Thank you.
Yes.
Very much.
Liz Klein?
Thank you, Jean, for putting this together and explaining it so well. What can you just tell me what the expenses were last year?
So the expenses in 2022 were $49,820.
Okay,
They're $50,958.
got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so there was about $1,000 increase.
And
Got
the major increase there is due to the escalation clause in the contract for the printing of all of those tax bills.
Got it.
So of the 1138, that accounted for almost $800.
Okay.
The other two
Yeah.
increases were very minor.
Yeah, so right. So I see that it went from 15,007 to 16,005. And that's, yeah, that's the increase.
The escalation, the 5% escalation is only based on a small percentage of that total printing budget, about $9,000 of it.
Yeah, great. Tom or Art, either of you have anything you wanted to add on this?
Just a quick comment. I think the community as well knows Jean Montgomery well. She's been with the town for a long time. She was once an elected official here as the treasurer, is now an unelected member of the team, but nonetheless, one of our most appreciated employees in town. She has a lot of town history. She knows the town so well. So Jean is the treasurer collector, but she's also the in some ways the local historian. Whenever I need to know the feel of the community or have a question about town hall and what might work and not work, Jean is my go-to in many instances. So she does an amazing job in the treasurer collector's office, as we all just saw, but she's more than that to everybody in town hall. So Jean, thank you for everything you do, and for everything that you and your office team do as well.
Thank you very much.
You keep us on the straight and narrow. We do appreciate that. Any member of the public have a comment or question? Seeing none. Jean, thank you. And we're going to turn now to the Human Resources budget request with Lisa Campbell.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Excellent. Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. I'm just gonna wait for Heidi. Yeah, there it is. Thanks, Heidi. So the primary function of the Human Resources Department is to manage the town's human resources functions for approximately 300 full-time and part-time employees. It's just all the non-school employees. We also assist the Personnel Board in administration of personnel bylaws, things like position classification and compensation, employee recruitment and selection, employee orientations and trainings, labor relations, collective bargaining, compensation and benefits, as well as civil service. We ensure compliance with all applicable labor laws and regulations. And we assist employees, retirees, and family members in enrolling in and understanding the town's health, dental, and life insurance benefits. Next slide. Our benchmark and metrics are managing the 6 collective bargaining agreements, the number of staff that we hire and separate, and collecting benchmark data from our 19 comparable communities. Next slide. Key initiatives this year are going to be to implement the new GovHR wage and classification system, manage the yearly open enrollment for benefits, maintain our new I-9 record keeping and retention and destruction system, design and implement enhanced quarterly training programs for municipal employees, and to strengthen and diversify our recruitment practices. Next slide. The majority of our salaries and expense of our budget rather is salaries in the amount of $163,742. That's for one full-time director and a part-time benefits coordinator. The other part of our budget is a small portion for expenses for $3,200, and those major items are for meeting and seminars and advertising services at $800 each. Next slide. We are making an additional request this year for $2,000 to expand the training program that we have put in place for quarterly training opportunities. Right now, we're primarily utilizing our EAP system, and we're looking to expand that and offer some additional opportunities. Next slide. Oh, that's it. No, that's it. Nope, that's not me.
Lisa, thank you.
Thank you.
No, that's really helpful. So your salaries are up about 9% from the budget last year.
Mhm.
Is that based on contracts, or what's the basis for that 9% increase?
Our staff are bylaw staff, permanent employees, so there's no contracts in place, but it's a result of just step increases for each employee and whatever the increase was as a result of the wage and classification system.
Okay, but there's again, there has not been any addition. We're talking about a staff of 2.
Correct, yes.
And your expenses are flat. I mean, other than the $2,000 increase. I mean, the new request on training, everything else is I'm seeing no real increase at all.
Yeah, I think we actually reduced in a couple of areas to try to help in that regard.
Yes, that was great. I've got no other questions. Liz Klein.
Thank you, Lisa. Just one question about, I think you mentioned diversifying hiring practices or the outreach there. Is there budget associated with that, or how do you see that happening?
We've been able to be a little creative. Some of the diversification that we've implemented is recently we used Indeed to hire some DPW staff. It's a free service, so we're trying to utilize any type of free posting services that we can, whether it's Indeed. And there are, I mean, obviously you can, pay for higher visibility in Indeed. And if we needed to do that, I'm sure we could probably pull from our advertising budget to do that. But right now we were able to be successful with the free program. Plus we can also reach out to other areas. If a department if a department has an organization that they're associated with, sometimes those organizations will post for us for free and share. So stuff like that.
Great. Thank you.
We're big fans of free here.
Free, definitely.
Yes. Bill Ramsey.
Lisa, is the money for the training, is it for a specific area of training, or is that something to be decided later?
Well, we're looking at a bunch of different topics. We're looking for things, let's see, I actually got a little list here. So we're looking for things like sensitivity training to provide. The EAP does offer us different options, but they're free and they're mostly, like managerial tools. But we'd like to branch out as far as, like I said, sensitivity, anti-harassment, any type of interviewing skills, things like that. We've considered some wellness opportunity training, things like ergonomics for the staff members if they're interested, stress management, if we can provide certain things like that. So we're looking to GovHR right now to try to provide some resources to branch out our and beef up our training topics.
Great. Well, Lisa, thanks for all you do for the town. Much
Thank
appreciated.
you. You're very welcome. Happy to do it.
Do we have any member of the public that has a comment or question? I am seeing none. And I should have asked Tom if there's anything that you had wanted to add.
Yeah, just again, thank you, Joe. This is such a great opportunity for me to address our staff in a public way. We are blessed with fantastic people across the board. Lisa is certainly right there with everybody. She's been with us now, Lisa, what? God, is it 3 years?
Almost 3. It'll be
Almost 3
in
years.
January.
She is just, she's taken HR to a new level for us. We've incorporated benefits with her, and they have a dedicated office suite. There's just a lot of improvements to our HR function since Lisa's got here, and she's running with it. And I encourage her at every turn to continue to do such things. So Lisa, great job, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Yes, Lisa, thank you. And I'm prepared to move on to legal. And after that, health imperatives and South Shore Women's Center. And Tom, you have all three.
I do.
So I am going to turn the floor over to you. Let's starting with legal.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Joe. So the town of Hingham divides our legal representation into 4 main categories. We have general counsel, which is generally not generally, it is represented by John Coughlin of Bogle, DeSantis and Coughlin. John has been our general counsel now for a number of years. We're represented by real estate counsel. Special counsel for real estate is Susan Murphy. Our labor counsel is Kevin Feely, and our litigation counsel is Kerry Ryan. If you'll remember last year during the budget cycle, we added towards the end of the budget year, I believe the number was $138,000 to the legal budget. This has been a chronically underfunded budget for dozens of years. I had been, if you remember, we had been working on a long-term solution, which was going to be adding approximately $25,000 a year to this budget for a long time. I had started referring to it as an annual. It was an annual. We were backfilling the legal budget on an annual basis using additional appropriations at town meeting, and it's not the best budgeting tool. So everybody had decided last year, let's try to bump this thing up beyond the $25,000 a year, try to right size it. However, the board at the time gave me the instruction of attempting to also keep a cap and use legal services in an appropriate way, so that that there wasn't a bottomless pit for legal service usage in the town. And
Yes.
And so we
use it more sparingly, I think was
yeah, exactly. And we've been trying to do that. The problem we ran into this year is, and by the way, this 395,372 is a level fund off of last year, so those are the same dollars as last year. This is how you'll see the FY22 breakdown. That's how 21 breakdown. That's how it was. How the legal dollars were spent last year. All COVID money will be reimbursed through either CARES or ARPA, and the Ware River water system money will be reimbursed by the enterprise fund. The other categories are, again, we right-sized to some extent last year. We're attempting to limit our usage and to control our usage of legal services through things like regular office hours for general counsel in an attempt to head off problems before they become them. The idea was general counsel might increase a little, but litigation hopefully drops a lot. That was the sense. And I think we've seen some of that. Unfortunately, right now we're for FY22 where we don't have that slide up because we don't have a full year picture yet. But right now we're about a third the way through the year, and we've used just around half the budget. So we're still running behind what we want to be, where we want to be. I think part of the reason for that is our staffing, the staffing design that we put together to help mitigate our use of legal dollars is only just now coming to fruition. We've only just hired our new senior planner. We've only just hired a couple of months ago, Art Robert as the ATA of operations. All of those positions will help us be able to deal with all of the issues that come up, whether it's in our permitting world or elsewhere, in using our internal staff rather than legal dollars. So we're hopeful that the FY22 budget will start to get a little bit of control as we get those staff on board. And I do believe that will actually start to show up significantly in FY23 and beyond. So these dollars are level funded from last year. I can't tell you that we're going to be able to live within that or not. Legal representation, you kind of need what you need when you need it. However, everyone has gotten the message that we don't need to run to counsel every time we have a question. So I think that message is getting through, and like I said, we'll know that more in FY22 and 23.
Thank you, Tom.
Any questions on legal?
Yeah, so last year we were about $500,000 over what was budgeted. What's your sense as to how much we're going to be over this year?
Yeah, so it definitely will not be that. So right now like I said, we're running about 12% high on a third of the year. So if that rate continues, it's 12% of 400.
Yeah, no, that's a big improvement.
Yeah.
Now, does the legal budget, the 395 here, does that include legal expenses for the Ware River water system?
It does, but that will be reimbursed by the enterprise.
Right. So I guess
I'm sorry, the 395 doesn't. Just the 8% on the wheel for FY21 does.
Right. Okay. So right. So our 395 should not.
That's right. It doesn't. No.
And to the extent that there was litigation associated with the Ware River water system, again, that should not be part of the town's budget.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Okay. I mean, Tom, you and I have worked on this, and I'm encouraged and impressed by your efforts in managing this budget. So thank you. Liz Klein, comments or questions?
No questions, but I know we've talked about this too, Tom, how to manage to this number and kind of control how and optimize how we're using counsel. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Bill.
Tom, have we applied for the COVID reimbursement expenses?
We have.
Oh, good.
Yep. Okay. We haven't received all of it yet. Some of it is still pending in some of the CARES money, the CARES Act reimbursement requests, but we will get it.
Okay, great. Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any member of the public, comments or questions? I'm seeing none. So can we move on to health imperatives, Tom?
Absolutely. So health imperatives is one of our two kind of social services that are provided to Hingham residents through our budget. Health Imperatives is a nonprofit organization that really generally provides health and human services for Hingham residents. We have about 14 Hingham residents had benefited from this service provided in FY21. Services generally include sexual assault and domestic violence, hotline, crisis counseling, advocacy support, emergency shelter, reproductive health services, and nutrition assistance. The total budget is $2,700, and that is level funded over last year.
Liz, any questions?
Well, thank you, Tom, for putting this together. It's certainly an important one. My question is the amount kind of static, or does it depend on how many Hingham residents are helped?
Yeah, it's a static amount that we write that as a check to Health
Okay.
Imperatives each year, and
Okay.
they offer free walk-in service to our residents as needed.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Bill,
So Tom, so the agency is named Health Imperatives?
It is, that's right. Health Imperatives of Plymouth, I believe, is the
Oh,
one
okay.
that the residents use. Yep.
So basically, this agency provides services to our residents and we reimburse them for the services they provide?
In essence, yes.
Okay.
That's what's happening.
Well, sounds like certainly an important service they're providing, so thank you.
You're welcome.
so Tom, Health Imperatives, do they have a location in Hingham?
Not in Hingham, no. It's a regional service. I believe they're based in, there's a number of them. There's
Right.
one in Wareham, one down in, I think, Chatham, another one, and the one that our residents would likely use would be in Plymouth.
Yeah, because I see they're Plymouth and Brockton as well.
Yep.
I was just, because you mentioned that our residents can walk in. This is not a local walk-in. It's
Yeah,
this is-
walk in, not walk to.
right. This is a drive-to.
That's right.
Have we looked at alternatives that might be more local for our residents? And is that even worth considering at this point?
It's happy to consider it at any point. I don't know of another provider for these services in Hingham or in the more direct region. This is a well-known utility or service that I think most communities on the South Shore participate in.
Yep. And do you review, or does someone else review their performance and we are satisfied with how they are performing?
Performance review, no. I do get an annual report from them, just kind of outlining the services that they provide and what they've done. We ask them each year for what do you call it? A census of Hingham residents that have
Right.
that have used their service. No names, of course, just the number of people,
Right.
and that's what they provide. But I've not gone down and done a performance review per se.
Not well. I was thinking of something less formal, but something that confirmed our expectations that they're providing the services that town residents might want to avail themselves of.
Sure.
So that's not a budget item, but just something that I'd like us to keep in mind.
Sure, I'm happy to. Yeah.
Okay. Any member of the public have comments or questions on this? Seeing none, Tom, we'll move on to South Shore Women's Center.
Thank you. So similar to the prior budget item, this is another social service provided to our residents. South Shore Resource and Advocacy Center provides domestic violence prevention and intervention out of Plymouth, also out of Plymouth. So this was again level funded over last year at $3,700. You can see here the list of services that they provide: crisis intervention, court advocacy, other advocacy supports for victims of domestic violence, clinical counseling, again, violence prevention and education.
Yep. And I see they're a 501c3.
Yep.
And so they make the appropriate filings there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Liz, questions?
No questions. I mean, to your earlier point, it would be interesting to just look into kind of more of a, not necessarily performance review or audit, but just
Right.
get a sense of what the quality of service that's being provided.
Right.
Sure.
And there's no suggestion that it's not great quality, but
Understood.
but we just, something that we should do our due diligence on.
Mhm.
Bill,
No questions, thank you.
any member of the public have comments or questions? Seeing none, I believe that concludes our first installment of the department budget requests. I know we will have other meetings where we're going to review other department requests. And Tom, this went smoothly because of the work that you and your group have put in to make this happen. So I don't see Michelle here. I know she's highly involved in this.
I was going to say, thank you very much, but the real person that needs that thanks isn't
Yeah,
currently on the Zoom. Michelle has done yeoman's work.
but we extend our thanks to her.
Yeah.
Next item is, I don't believe we're going to be doing any appointments this evening. So we're going to move to public comment for items not on the agenda. So if there are members of the public who have comments on items that are not on the agenda, please raise your hand. And I see a hand raised. The only name I see is Beth.
Hi, I'm Beth Rockoff.
If you could just give
36
us your,
Pleasant Street,
I'm sorry, what was your address?
36 Pleasant Street.
Great.
And my question is in regards to COVID. I know there was a bunch of state money or federal money that was given to us, and we utilized a lot of it for the 30 new positions at the high school to try and help the schools get the kids back in session. But I was wondering why we were not like Weymouth and Milton, who have provided a vaccination center day for helping get all these kids vaccinated so we can keep them in the school, as well as I know you had a testing center set up on Cushing Street for a long time, and then it stopped. And as the rates start to go up, as I see there are 9 kids at, I believe it's East School, and 7 at Plymouth River just within the last day, that maybe we might open something like that again so that we could be proactive in testing and also getting kids vaccinated so we can keep them in the school.
So I'll say that your comments are actually anticipate some of the items that I think our town administrator will be covering in his COVID report, which we'll be doing after this. We are constantly vigilant about a number of COVID issues. And I can assure you that what you have raised, the board has addressed and is continuing to address. And I'd be happy to talk with you offline about further initiatives.
Okay,
But
thank you.
I see a hand raised by Jim Gordon. I used to work with someone named Jim Jordan. What a great guy. So I'm sure you're just as great.
Well, thank you.
Even though it's Gordon instead of Jordan. And Beth, if you could put your hand down now.
All right, let me do that. And if any of you are Batman aficionados, Jim Gordon is also the name of the inspector. So I do also go by commish.
Okay.
I'd first like to start, first of all, by thanking all of you and the town departments for all of the work you do. I've been a resident now for almost 30 years. My kids went through the school system. I have grandkids in the school system, and my friends and colleagues are always very jealous after big storms when they've lost power for days even. And I say, gee, we didn't have any problem, or the most we missed was by, a couple of hours. And I always do see the trucks out there proactively pruning and cleaning, and roads being taken care of. So I do appreciate it, and I know that my neighbors do, and I just wanted to say thank you for that. As some of you might recall, I've been sort of getting rather, bringing up the issue of the chronic flooding and the increased flooding that's been happening from the flow of water from Canterbury Estates and the road, and the issue of drainage from Powers Lane through the Amante Meadow into the Weir Street, the Weir River. And so I wanted to follow up, Mr. Mayo, on the email that you sent me in July 16th on getting an outside engineering firm to look at it, and also see what the results were from the letter that the Massachusetts DOT sent on the 24th, which I believe they were looking for a response probably around last week or around this time. So I just wanted to see where that all stood and what the town's plans were going forward to remediate the situation.
So if I can just, Tom, I think, to the extent that there's an email exchange, you should do that offline. This is not the forum to have sort of that discussion with Tom. I think the direct discussion with Tom is appropriate, but it sounds like the flooding issue that you've raised is within Concom jurisdiction. I don't know, but I'm assuming that you've addressed it with them as well.
I have. I mean, everyone has agreed that there is a problem, but the town has, I think, said that it's not their responsibility to deal with. The letter from MassDOT dated the 24th, which went to Mr. Mayo as well as the head of DPW and others, did maintain that it was the town's responsibility to address and had requested a remediation plan be sent to MassDOT District 5 within 60 days.
So I will follow up, Tom, with you on that.
Okay.
And Jim, I appreciate your raising it here.
Very good. All right. Thank you very much.
And Beth, your hand is still up. If you can.
It is. I took mine down. I
No,
thought.
not Jim. It's Beth.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Beth has her hand up. So I'm going to. There she is. I just going to assume she's waving to us there. Anyone else? I see that Martha Buick is on the line. She's doesn't have her hand raised, but she looks like from her picture that she's ready to burst into song. And she does sing well. So
Martha may have been for moral support. I sing with Martha with the symphony and the pops.
Oh, great.
We had an afternoon rehearsal, so I think she said she would drop in.
Oh, great.
To the world.
I love it. Thank you, Martha. We needed that. Okay. Moving on to town administrator reports. Tom, I'm going to start with you because I know you've got a COVID update that you're going to include as part of your report. So in many ways, there are some issues that Beth spoke about that you may also be speaking about. So please, floor is yours.
Thank you. I have a prepared statement, a prepared report, and I'll try to tack on some of what I heard as well. So the prepared report reads as such. In Hingham, we're seeing an uptick in new cases of COVID-19. Currently, the DPH is reporting 44 new COVID-19 cases during the 14-day period ending November 25th. That's compared to 38 cases over a 2-week period ending November 18th. Despite this being a 16% increase, more recent numbers from the last few days have indicated that the uptick is much more significant than these numbers reflect. So due to a lag in reporting, that significant increase may not be represented in reports for another week or two. However, in light of this significant uptick, I'd like to remind people to continue to take precautions to protect yourself and others from COVID-19. Public health protocols to prevent the spread of COVID-19 include wearing face coverings, practicing social distancing, frequent hand washing, getting vaccinated, among others. So the overall vaccination rate for Hingham is actually up currently to 75%, which is a nice number. If you look at only vaccine eligible individuals in Hingham, that's now people over the age of 5. The percent of fully vaccinated eligible residents is actually 80%. So those are both good numbers. We like to see those numbers going up. According to the DPH, approximately 47% of Hingham residents ages 5 to 11 have received 1 dose of a COVID-19 vaccine, up from 6% 2 weeks ago. And that is a significant number because if it continues to climb the way it has, 6 to 26 to 47, we're going to see the overall vaccination rate for Hingham, which is currently at 75, likely move up and hopefully over the 80% goal or metric that DPH has set. The Hingham Health Department is seeking guidance from the Mass DPH on steps necessary to host local vaccine clinics. If we are able to provide a vaccine clinic, we've been told that it would be at least 2 weeks from now. we'll continue to keep the public informed as we know more. I will say that there is a couple of different types of vaccine clinics we could do. The first that we were looking into was what's called a mobile clinic from the state that would have provided vaccine clinics on a mobile basis for children ages 5 to 11. So that cohort that hadn't yet been vaccinated. However, our numbers are climbing so fast, thankfully, that by the time we were able to order that mobile vaccination clinic, by the time it got here 2 weeks from now or later, that number is going to be significantly higher, and the need would be significantly lower. That's what we're hearing from the DPH. So
Tom, just to clarify, when you say our numbers are climbing, people think, oh, our infection rates are climbing.
I'm sorry, a vaccination.
It's the vaccination rate that's climbing. Yeah, okay.
And thank you, Joe, for that clarification. I want to make sure that's perfectly clear. Our vaccination numbers are climbing. However, we're also seeing an uptick, like I said, in total cases as well. That said, the testing question that Beth raises is a good one. The command call, which is myself, it's a weekly call between myself and the assistant town administrators, along with the two chiefs and the health department executive officer down there. We all meet together on a weekly basis still, and have throughout the entirety of the pandemic. And we are looking at the rates of infection in town. And as those infection rates continue to climb, we will be seriously considering testing clinics again on an as needed basis. I'm not hearing right now that testing is not available. Unlike the vaccine boosters and especially for the adult boosters, there seems to be a hard time right now. There as many as a couple of weeks out, the appointments. So we're looking at all that. It's very complex, and we need to understand that even once we are able to get an acknowledgement from the state that they'll provide us either just the straight medicine for us to do our own clinic or a mobile clinic, it's going to be a couple of weeks out before we're even provided any of that. So we are looking at all of it, though.
Great. So if I can just add on, the testing center that we had last time that the town instituted was really in response to a lack of testing facilities available. And my understanding is that right now there is a lot of testing capacity available at the local drugstores. People are not waiting in line for tests as they were a year ago. But that is something that I believe our health department is aware of and will be monitoring. So if there is a need, that is something that we would be looking at. And with respect to vaccinations, Tom, do we have any outreach program for seniors or others who might need transportation in order to get vaccinated?
We do through our Elder Services Department. Any senior that needs a ride to get vaccinated should contact them, and they will coordinate that ride. That's true of just about any service that a senior in town needs, but certainly also for vaccine.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Liz, any comments or questions on Tom's report?
Just a comment about the student testing. Children that are students in the Hingham Public Schools can be tested at school if the parents opt into the program. They can be tested, either pool testing or the stay testing, which means if you have been exposed, you can continue to test and stay in the classroom. So that is thankfully happening. Those programs are up and running. Tom, just one question about the vaccination clinic. Are we awaiting approval from the state, or is it more of a supply issue of the actual vaccine?
So it's an approval of the state. The state's been very clear that there's not a vaccine shortage in the state.
Okay.
It's a matter of getting the appointments, and frankly, the qualified personnel to administer the vaccines is also a concern, both from the state level and the local level. When these, in order to hold a vaccine clinic, we have to have qualified and willing workforce to administer them. We were lucky with the original round of vaccines. Our firefighters stood up. They're all paramedics, and they stood up and were willing to do that. I think that would be the case again for adult boosters It's a little bit different when you talk about vaccinating children. So we just need to be careful with who we ask to take on those responsibilities.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bill Ramsey.
Yeah, I mean, I'd really like us to pursue that vaccination clinic for children. I know people are having trouble getting shots. Obviously, my children are in that age group, so I have a lot of friends with children in that age group, and I hear a lot of frustration from parents or having trouble getting it. I know it's a couple weeks out, but still, I'd rather offer it to our residents and not need it than not offer it and have a high need of it. So I think everything we can do to pursue that and have it here, I think is important. I'm also hearing, in fact, I got a couple of text messages today from people asking me how I got my booster shot, because there was a lot of concern and frustration about people not being able to get a booster shot. So if we can get a mobile vaccination clinic for a booster shot too, even if it is 2 weeks out, I think that would be helpful as well. I think with talk about the new variants dominating the media now, it's creating a lot of concern amongst people. So whatever we can do to offer these services to our residents, I think we should pursue it. In particular, because we're going to get refunded for it too. So if you could do that, that'd be greatly appreciated. So thanks for doing that, Tom.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bill. Just so you know, I did give Susan Sarney down in the health department today, who's working under a lot of those exact requests from me. I will reiterate them with her in the morning. I know she's already working with her colleagues at DPH, but no, knowing that we have the will and the backing of the board is extremely helpful. So thank you all.
Definitely.
Okay, Tom, that was perhaps part one of your town administrator report. Is there anything else you want to add?
Nothing else tonight. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I know Art is on the line. Anything that you wanted to report this evening? You're muted.
Nothing to add this evening. Thank you.
You could have said that on mute. I would have. So we'll go to select board member reports. Liz?
Just an announcement that Christmas in the Squares this week, Friday, December 3rd. So hope to see everyone in downtown Hingham.
Yes. Bill?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Yep. And just following up, Liz, I know that DPW has been preparing the streets. And so that Christmas in the Square, it will go off without a hitch and it will look absolutely spectacular.
Yes, HMLP always helps, as well as the fire and police. It is, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to pull that event off, to make it safe and fun for everybody.
Absolutely. So with that, before I adjourn, Martha Buick, do you want to give us a rendition of any more music? And then I'm going to adjourn the meeting. You there, Martha? Well, she's silent, so I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Farewell,
Okay.
so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.
That's perfect.
Meeting. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, take care, Martha. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote. Liz?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Joe? Aye. We are adjourned.